In just minutes, we'll hear that raw, heartbreaking emotion from those parents who were stuck in a parking lot waiting to connect with their children. We'll be right back. 441, turning now to COVID-19. The good news this morning, cases are going down. The bad news, restrictions won't ease up right away. I want to bring you back to that breaking news coming out of Texas this morning. Incredible live pictures this morning that is also streaming on our Facebook page. This is in Ellis County, Texas, about 45 minutes south of Dallas. No injuries here, but this is a recycling plant fire. At 6:08, more breaking news this morning out of Mount Airy. Police say a shooting at a Circle K is now deadly. From there in Forsyth to over in Guilford, there in Greensboro, a multi-car crash has caused Battleground Avenue at Markland Drive to close in both directions. Crews are still working this morning to repair a damaged utility pole. You can see that car crashed right into it overnight. And we could all use a little more sleep, right, Audrey?
Isn't that the truth?
Amen. What a new study this morning is suggesting about the benefits of getting 7 to 8 hours. And a lot of those students will want to talk, because imagine those students who were sitting inside the classroom. They're going to have a lot of questions, especially the students who might have witnessed this shooting. 6:18, let's play ball. Winston-Salem has a brand new amateur baseball team.
Okay, here's the pitch. Are you going to hit it? Knocked it out of the park. And this morning we all...
Colorado authorities say 4 people are dead and at least 3 others are injured this morning. That includes a police officer after a shooting spree just last night. 8:41, I want to bring your attention right to the traffic maps. We're watching the situation there in Alamance County, and I can guarantee you some money. This is probably from yesterday's storms. Before you guys take to social media, before you feed into that rumor mill, give them a chance to give us the facts, to give you the facts at home, because this is, we've already seen several cases of bad rumors spurring from this situation, and you always want to make sure that you get the facts right, especially after yesterday's scattered storms. Brian,
it's going to snow this weekend.
Excuse me?
It's going to snow.
Where?
April Fools.
Oh.
That was how you got it. Was so easy.
Brian, I am tired, okay?
So just to DaVonté did the morning news yesterday. He came back into the evening news, and now he's back this morning. And just a little while ago, what did you say to me?
I'm starting to see double.
You're starting to see double at 4:42. Yeah.
It's going to be a long day.
It's going to be a long day, too.
Some good news to start this Friday morning. Oh, my goodness. Look at that. A warmer weekend is on the way. You're taking a live look over High Point this morning. A word this morning on the total amount of evacuees. When I stepped in about 30 minutes ago, there was probably roughly about 10 to 15 people inside. All right, TGIF, welcome into your Friday morning. 6:36? No, 6:28. Wow, I need to check my glass. You can see what a mess that is with those power lines in the roadway. Thankfully, no one was injured here, but that closure could last easily 4 hours up until 10 o'clock. We'll, of course, keep you updated. But again, the accident in the 2500 block of South Stratford Road near Hillcrest Center Lane, right near that food line and Sheets past the Haynes Mall Boulevard intersection in Winston-Salem. All right, Jacqueline, thank you. 4:32 this Friday. I-74 in Winston-Salem is back open at this hour. Overnight, a large tree fell on the interstate. It was shut down between Union Cross Road and Ridgewood Road. Crews just finished their work removing that tree from the interstate, and that was a little after 4 o'clock this morning. No word on what caused that tree to fall, but again, I-74 is in the green for that Friday morning drive. Happening now, Greensboro police are still searching for answers this morning in a deadly shooting. Officers were called to Summit Avenue near East Bessemer Avenue. That was around midnight yesterday morning. Police say they found 2 people shot. 25-year-old Dorian Wingate Hayes has since died. The other victim, a 60-year-old man, survived. A motive remains unknown. A former nurse in Winston-Salem is now in prison after tampering with drugs. Police say Emily Poteet from Danville, Virginia, injected herself with opioids that her patients were supposed to have. Poteet pled guilty to tampering with consumer products. That was last December, but now she has been sentenced to more than 4 years in prison. That's on top of the 3-year sentence that she was already serving for the same thing at a Virginia hospital. You may soon be able to use marijuana legally in the state of North Carolina. The Senate needs one more vote next week before that bill goes off to the House. On Thursday, members of the state Senate approved the use of the drug for people that are diagnosed with a debilitating medical condition such as cancer or PTSD. One Alamance County Republican says many people were surprised to see the Senate pass the Compassionate Care Act.
This is a hard issue for a conservative to support. Marijuana is super controversial. It was hard for me listening to people and cancer patients, people with multiple sclerosis, ALS. If you're terminally ill, have less than 6 months to live, I think it's so important that we are compassionate.
Now, if this goes through, North Carolina will become the 40th state to legalize medical marijuana. One speaker at the Senate House says this topic likely wouldn't be up for discussion, that is, until 2023. A legislation to help hundreds of thousands of North Carolinians afford health care is now on its way to the House. The Medicaid bill received a final Senate approval yesterday. The measure would expand throughout the state. And that's not all this morning, folks. Authors of the bill also say that it would improve health care access and control patient cost. House Speaker Tim Moore says the bill was a little bit too complex and time was just too limited during the Senate session to consider any other additional measures. County this morning in Rockingham County, officials have not yet released the name of the young man whose body was found in Ballew's Lake Wednesday night. He died after he went under the water and never came back up. This raises concerns about safety when it comes to water activities. Emergency crews shared just a few tips for anyone looking to get out on the water this summer. Maria DaVonté picks up our coverage from there. Next at noon, a brother's gunfire. Police are looking for a man accused of shooting his sister on accident, why it caused a hospital to go on lockdown. Plus, it was another violent weekend across the Triad and the country. Multiple graduation parties ending with shots fired. Some of those celebrations now turning deadly.
Hello, this is a prepaid call from an inmate at Forsyth County Jail. To accept this call, press 3 now.
That number 3 led us to a phone call with 25-year-old Kirsten Kleiner. Jail records show she was cuffed in October on felony drug trafficking and possession charges. She says inmates have been told the jail is severely short-staffed, leaving inmates locked in their cells at times for 22 hours a day.
That's what they tell us. They tell us that it's because of a shortage, that we're on facility lockdown. I mean, when we're on lockdown for that many hours a day, it is enough to drive a person insane.
Kirsten says, yes, she understands why she's here, but a nearly day-long lockdown every day is a harsh sentence for an inmate's mental health. Sheriff Bobby Kimbrough says regulations require that inmates can only get 1 hour out every 3 days. He says at the Forsyth County Jail, though, they get more than that, 2 hours in the morning and 2 at night every day.
We don't make the law, we just do what the regulations say. So they exceed what the regulations say they allow by the state. If we are exceeding that, then we can't be held accountable for someone's mental health.
The number of vacancies have only kept rising since our coverage of the jail started last fall. On November 21st, there were 79 vacancies. On the 30th, 83. On December 16th, we checked again, 86 vacancies. The most recent count, as of January 27th, 94 vacancies at the Forsyth County Jail. Kirsten is concerned at what conditions will be like if more officers keep leaving.
It's because of the conditions that we're having to live under. It's absolutely terrible. It's inhumane. It's just not right.
That same sentiment of things not being right is what worries Kirsten's parents. They saw the mental health challenges firsthand during a recent visit to the jail.
There is a central desk, and there was one officer there. Lights were down. And I asked her, I said, what's going on? She said, Mama, we're on lockdown. I didn't understand why. And she said, well, if the boys misbehave, they lock us all down. If there's a shortage of people, they lock us all down.
Locked down and locked up. They say simple things like their daughter getting necessities and basic medical care have taken time. It took weeks for jail staff just to get eyeglasses to Kirsten, and she's legally blind. Months for doctors to address a broken tooth.
I'm sorry it fell through the cracks, and I've heard that twice in 3 weeks, that something has fallen through the cracks.
The reason why, they say, no staff.
And you start working people shift work 12 on, 12 off, they're going to get burnt out. And then where do you pull people from? So those shortages are just impacting definitely on inmates, because inmates are smart. I mean, they see what's going on. With these staffing issues, it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
For inmates, it feels like it's already getting worse. Kirsten says the time they are allowed out is limited. There's a chance to shower, make a phone call, or take a walk, but not enough time for all three.
I'm in here with these women and I see what they're going through. I feel what they're going through. The pain, the agony, the sadness, the depression, the anxiety, the emotions are just, they're running high.
Custody and care for inmates is paramount. You know, if you're going to put them there, then you're going to take care of them.
And some would argue care for the inmates is on rocky ground right now at the jail, and it boils down to the growing number of shortages. Sheriff Kimbrough says that's simply not the case.
So do you think the shortages are impacting the care for those inmates in any type of way?
No,
No.
I don't.
A heartbroken father mourning the death of his daughter. 35-year-old Olivia Flores was killed Wednesday night on New Walkertown Road in Winston-Salem. Police say a hit-and-run driver crashed into her taxi cab, leaving her there to die.
They want the person who caused the accident to pay for what he done. Because he left two girls without my mom.
Without a mom, these two adorable little girls, Imani and Alea, will only be left with memories that hang on the living room wall, and the ones Daddy and Grandpa will eventually share. The ones wrapped tightly in the family's photo album will be precious too, like the family sketch they laughed at from time to time.
She was all the time smiling. She was all the time going. She was always full of energy all the time.
Olivia was working as a part-time taxi cab driver, and even more heartbreaking, it was to say for Alea's baptism. She was so excited, telling family and friends to save the date. Now they have to save Wednesday's date, 11/14/2018, the day they said a final goodbye.
Why she's gone. We love her. We love her. It's not going to be the same without her. No.
I know a lot of people have walked away for that very reason. And until we get better support and that the people can see, the drivers can see, it's going to always be a shortage.
Wanda Byers might look familiar to many. She's been driving for Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools for 17 years. Byers is shocked at the way the district is handling the shortage. She says it's going to get worse before it gets any better.
The way things are going now, you're not getting a lot of people who want to drive. You're getting more people who do not want to drive.
The feeling of not wanting to drive is the last thing this bus driver of 4 years wants to experience himself. He says the impact of running 3 to 4 extra routes daily with low pay is becoming a bit too much.
What's heartbreaking to me is to see these drivers that have been driving for 30 years and for them to say they're getting to the point where they're just tired. We're actually losing more than we need to be gaining. If you up the pay and give these drivers what they're worth, then we wouldn't have to hire National Guard or anybody else because people would then roll in.
He, too, is quick to say the district is failing at supporting some of their most important employees.
We just need that support. Supervisors or even above that, Department of Transportation. Come out and talk to us. See what we can do together because we're out on the road and you're not.
Superintendent Tricia McManus says that she's starting to do just that. She launched Meet Me at the Ramp 1 week ago, meeting drivers one-on-one, hoping to hear their voices a bit better.
It bothers me as a person who really values our employees and wants to do everything to retain our great employees. You know, when I hear that folks are not feeling valued, it definitely hits home with me, and that's why I'm out there trying to figure out what else can we do.
The tension is not only between bus drivers and the district, but parents as well. Many drivers say the lack of communication from the district to the parents regarding daily busing issues is leaving bus drivers in the hot seat.
When you enforce the rules and you get kickback from the parents and stuff, then you don't get the support from the people who made the rules.
So we have to run X amount of routes. There's no communication with the parents. You pull up with their kid as quick as you can get there, as safely as you can get there, and we get bashed for trying to do our best.
McKenith says the transportation department is trying their best as well and admits to communication problems early on. She says that department went from 2,000 phone calls on the first day of school to now only 10 calls per week. She also believes the drivers shouldn't be the ones doing the explaining.
I mean, that really should not fall on our drivers. I'll be honest with you. That should really, our supervisors for each corridor that actually support the routes on that corridor, from them to the administrative team that's overseeing the whole process, we need to be the ones that are reaching out to parents and solving problems with parents.
Recruitment for bus drivers is a statewide problem. One bus driver who's been on the road now for about 5 years with the district wanted to remain anonymous out of fear of retaliation from the school system. She questions, why would someone even think to apply at this point?
I think the community has really seen how far it's gotten. And then you got outsiders looking in. I'm like, do I really want to drive and go through that as well and be stressed out?
Stressed out over every delayed pickup and drop-off they make.
I mean, you just dropping and going or picking up and going. It's like you don't get that time to stop, breathe, or anything like that. It's just always go.
Tamika Quigg has been driving for almost 8 years with the district, calling this year quite the adventure. She stands strong on the support issue from district administration.
It's just like the incident that happened at Tabor. They commended the teachers, the police, and all of that, but you never once heard about them saying, oh, well, thanks to the bus drivers.
McKenith admits it may not have been an immediate show of appreciation, but her heartfelt thanks is always there.
They may not have been in that very first interview. That was the day of the shooting, but when I did our press conference, I specifically did recognize them because that is really important.
Recognizing the same bus drivers who say they've waited far too long for change and their patience has hit a stopping point.
It's always, we'll get to it, bear with us. We have, we haven't forgot about you guys. We're working on this, we're working on that. That's every day. We see no change.
For 12 Investigates, I'm DaVonté McKenith.
That whole 5 minutes, I have to say, probably was, in reality, almost seemed like an hour long. It would not stop, it seems like.
New video from the back of the restaurant looks typical for a weekend. 2:30 in the morning on December 5th, a late night crowd ready for a bite to eat. Take note of this guy with his hands up. He's our suspect now facing misdemeanor assault charges. Fast forward the video, two women exit the restroom area and approach a man sitting at the table. Tensions flare and you can see one of the women being pushed back. Not too long after, owner Michael Scotto DeFrega hears the beginning of the chaos and rushes in to break things up.
You're trying to contain it, and no matter what you do, it's not working.
While he's in the middle of the crowd, our suspect shoves a woman in the face. Michael says, as jarring as this may be, it wasn't his only concern.
I happened to look down and I seen a handgun just pretty much, sliding across the floor. And at that point, everybody was scurrying to get the gun.
The crowd got the gun out the restaurant, and Michael thought at this point it had to be over. But here's our suspect entering once again. He walks up behind Michael and punches him in the head. He struggles and falls to the floor before his head is stomped into the ground over and over.
You hit me in the face, I go down, it's done. But you continued.
This is when he blacks out as emotion is being tattooed in his memory.
After I fell at one point, it was just foggy. I just remember seeing the anger in his face while I was on the floor, and then after that, that was it. When I was looking at him, I was just wondering in my head at that point, like, why is this guy so angry at me?
It's a distant, foggy memory nowadays, sometimes a toss-up between a good day or bad. The worst part of this?
1014, we now have a subject passed out on the floor. EMS is en route.
A concussion as the end result.
I have to every day wake up and not know that if it's going to be a good day or a bad day as far as like my mental state goes, because sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't.
Police got our suspect when he turned himself in 11 days later. 23-year-old Brandon Sessoms didn't spend much time in jail, if any at all. Police say he was given a $10,000 bond and immediately bonded out. Instead of jail, it could have been a trip to the hospital. Michael says he was very close to pulling his own gun.
Yes, my life was in danger, but at the same time, it's a 23-year-old, you know? I'm glad I didn't drill.
From start to finish, Michael doesn't let that night get to him much. He just wants to know why this commotion led to this concussion.
Punishment needs to be done because at the end of the day, you know, they're just gonna go out and do it again. He did that to me and he had no motive, you know? Imagine if he has a motive, what he's gonna do to somebody else.
Just confirming we have an ambulance coming to the call on West 4th.
10 further, 1718 to the pizzeria on 4th.